Hi guys, this is Hero. How's everyone doing today? आज वाला केम छो? आज सब कैसे हो? So today I'm going over accepting criticism and personal responsibility. And let me give you a couple stories that happened today that prompted me to make this video. And if I look a little sweaty, it's because I just came back from the gym for a very long time. Okay. So I'm at the gym, right? And I'm doing incline dumbbell curls. Okay. And I'm kind of like at the end of my workout, like definitely the last quarter, third portion. Okay. And this old guy's walking past me as I'm wrapping up a set, and he's like, come on, you got one more, right? And my brain automatically made an excuse, like why, why can't I do one more, right? Like, oh, I'm towards the end of the workout, blah blah blah, right? Fast forward a little bit, I go to a yoga class at my gym. My gym has these free yoga classes, and out of everybody in there, I was probably taking it the most seriously, right? For whatever reason. And like, we're doing the stuff, and like, I'm obviously breathing hard, right? Because that's in deep, because that's what you're supposed to do. And she's just like, oh, somebody's a little tight over there. And again, my brain automatically jumped to an excuse, right? I'm probably the most active in there. Like, I just did like, 300 plus pound deadlifts for like multiple sets the day before, right? Everything's a little bit tight. But point I'm trying to make is I noticed that in the past, I would have definitely verbally said the excuse that I was thinking, right? However, in this situation, I try to use it to my advantage. So when she said I was tight, I'm like, hey, you know what? Like, yeah, that initial thought came up, but I was like, yeah, you know what? At the end of the day, like, I am pretty tight, right? Like my hamstrings and my lower back and everything like that, right? Same with the workout thing. Yeah, it is the end. And yeah, I might not be able to do like, 4 or 5 more, but I got like 1 or 2 more left in me, right? And both of them are just trying to help me out in this situation. Which brings me to my next point. Know your audience, right? And also removing your bad audience. So the reason why our brain automatically makes an excuse is because usually the people that we are surrounding ourselves with have completely like extremely low vibration and like low energy and things like that, right? So when they do this, you are doing by surrounding yourself with these people, it is reinforcing certain negative patterns like making excuses and things like that for a variety of reasons. And I'll get into these in a second, but I'll just say them now. Retaining fake value out of insecurity, not accepting other people's value out of fear, not wanting to detach when new info is present, pretend it said it's present over here, and serious identifications can be broken, okay? So when you're around or constantly surround yourself with a certain audience of people, right, you form all these bad patterns, but why, right? Because these are lower vibrational people who have many different identifications, right? Like, oh, who's the smartest, who's the best looking, who's got the, best looking spouse, who's this, who makes the most money, who's got the nicest car, who's the best, who's the best trying to pick up people of the opposite sex, like whatever, right? There's all kinds of, when you're around a certain audience of people, there's this constant comparison thing going on, right? And we form fake value out of insecurity, and we also try to retain that fake value out of insecurity, right? Be like, hey, like I'm in my friend circle or whatever, right? The identification I have is I'm the, this person, right? Whatever that could be. I'm the smart one who's this, I'm the good looking one who's that, whatever, right? Now, when we're presented with information, we don't want to consider it because that shatters our whole perception of, hey, we might not possibly know as much about this as we thought, right? So we don't want to, we just kind of want to discard it. Like, hey, there's some caveat with that. Like, for example, like the lady who tells me at the yoga class, like, I'm a little tight. We don't want to listen to that because that kind of goes against our, preconceived notion, for example, in this case, that I take care of my body, right? So I'm going to want to try to discard that just to retain that fake perception that I have in my head. And it could be a real perception, but there's always improvement that we can make, right? But I don't want to because that makes me tackle a lot of my insecurities, right? And another thing is I don't want to accept that out of fear, she could know more than me, right? Rationally, we know, okay, everyone knows. I mean, not everybody, but there are people that know more about certain topics that we care about than us, right? But however, we, at a very root subconscious level, we would love to just believe that we're the expert in everything, right? Or we can be the expert in everything extremely quickly. And why is that? Because out of fear, right? It's to admit that somebody knows more than you is like a very, for the ego in your deep subconscious, consider it's a very scary thing, right? So in these situations where they know something that for your betterment that you don't want to accept it, right? Because it's like, oh, maybe I'm off my game somehow or something like that, right? Not wanting to detach when new info is present. So, and serious identifications can be broken. I'll start on the serious identifications point first. So, like I said, like I kind of already talked about this. These all kind of tie together. I just kind of listed them out to help it kind of digest a little bit easier. But whenever anybody tells you anything, any criticism or anything about any personal responsibility, which I can maybe get into a specific personal responsibility thing in a second, there's many different identifications that you formed over the years. And next time you hear any sort of criticism, whether it's from a good or bad audience, just notice what identifications is it challenging in you? What is it asking you to detach from that you are holding on to? What insecurities is it asking you to look at a little bit deeper? What fears is it asking you to possibly acknowledge or let go, right? These things, whenever you have this, right, are encountered with criticism or personal responsibility kind of situations, you want to just be aware, right? Now, you want to also remove yourself from the bad audience over time, right? Because the more you receive this from the bad audience, the more you're going to put up these walls and form these bad habits, right? So that's the first main thing, right? Remove this, and these will kind of all slowly start to go away, right? But regardless, basically, this is impossible to go away if you don't remove the bad audience, right? And then once you remove the bad audience, or slowly over time remove the bad audience, or at least just be observant of who's bad and who's not bad, then with the good audience, you can kind of take this to sort of better your life, right? Because there's all kinds of people who know more about you, like when it comes to spirituality, your physical health, your career, whatever, right? Your family life, whatever, okay? So one other thing that I want to, and this is actually also a star point along with this one, any advice usually has a little ego attached to it. Okay, so you're not crazy for thinking no matter who you get the advice from, that your subconscious is like, oh, they're just trying to show me up a little bit, right? Any single piece of advice, I don't care who it's from, has a little bit of ego attached to it. So you also need to accept that, right? It's just part of this human experience. Just like any single relationship has a little bit of ego attached to it, right? I think Krishna says this in the Gita also, but regardless of whether he said it or not, I'm telling you, any sort of relationship, I don't care how close it is. I don't care if it's a mother and her newborn baby. There's a little bit of ego attached to a mom taking pride in, I have this newborn baby, right? Same thing, any advice they give you, I don't care if it's from your guru, I don't care if it's from your parents, whatever. Now, I'm not saying that their advice is not good, but you do need to accept that there is some ego that can be attached to it, right? So you need to accept that because your ego could have the tendency of going crazy no matter how good or bad your audience is, to say, hey, whoa, this person's trying to show me up, right? Yeah, you need to accept that, hey, maybe this person is subconsciously trying to show me up, right? But this is where we need to just be aware, connect the dots properly, and use our common sense in saying, okay, who's good and who's bad? And if it's good, we need to possibly take their advice as serious as possible, and we possibly need to take care of these things, which is possibly not wanting to retain our fake value, why we need to recognize what our fake value is in certain critiques that we take out of insecurity. We need to see what fears we possibly need to accept about this other person presenting us with this criticism, possibly what identifications are broken, and what we need to detach from when new info is present, okay? Yeah, so, and then just another point here, I just realized I didn't really expand on this point too much. So not wanting to detach when new info is present, it's like, let's just say you have the best workout routine. I'll even give you a better example. there's a lot of people that are super duper attached to their religion or super duper attached to their political party or whatever, right? And when they're presented with any information that somewhat contradicts anything that they believe or a system of beliefs that they have strongly, they don't want to detach from it, right? So it's very important to also acknowledge this, right? For example, let's just take our own and beloved astrology, right? There are certain people that have a certain set of beliefs that they don't want to get rid of when it comes to astrology. And then there's also another extreme of, like, I'm not going to say another extreme, but let's just say another group of people, they don't believe in astrology at all. And even no matter what info they're presented with, they don't want to detach from the idea that astrology is, fake or whatever, right? Just a little side note, in this situation, I would actually rather someone be the second situation where they don't believe in astrology at all than be in the first category of having certain unresourceful beliefs in astrology that they're heavily attached to, right? And I explained in one of my videos recently is called How Astrology Can Be Complete Nonsense. This is more dangerous by far than this, right? If you want to believe in astrology or religion or anything like that, I would encourage you to have a very open mind and constantly adapt your views. But moving forward, accepting criticism and personal responsibility. Usually criticism is tied into personal responsibility, right? This is why also your brain automatically makes an excuse whenever something is present, right? Like, oh, it doesn't want to take responsibility for the fact that it might not be pushing itself in the workout, or it might not be, keeping your body up to top tier through stretching or diet or whatever, right? Or you don't want to take responsibility for, you might not be doing the best things to elevate your career, right? And then that destroys a whole bunch of identifications and stuff that you might have, right? Or you might not be doing whatever you can to help your family life, whether it's with your spouse or kids or whatever, be in the best shape possible, right? And that possibly has a chance of lowering this fake value that you have that in your head, right? So about like, oh, I'm the wise one in the house or whatever, right? And you have some value on that. So I think that's it here. If you have any questions or comments, you can feel free to let me know. And until next time, I will talk to everyone later. Thank you all very, very much for watching.